The little villages around Aix-en-Provence, you've got Puricard, you've got Aiguille, you've got Saint-Canard, Rognes, Lambesque, le Sud-Luberon, Loris, Lourmarin, Cadenet, Cucuron,
Les
loads and loads and loads, les Alpilles.
The cash buyers are, don't talk to me. I'm only getting the mortgage ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's always interesting to talk to them to see why they're buying cash.
Yeah.
And if it's not more interesting for them to have some debts in France.
Yeah.
A new kind of profile for me, it's people living on their assets. So
now that's really interesting you should say that actually, because in terms of investment, the Domaine du Port-Royal, which is the international golfing domain, which is a gated community. Yeah, it's a gated community, so it's particularly attractive to secondary homes.
Yeah.
So as a financial advisor, I'm going to ask you a couple of tricky questions now.
Tell me.
Okay, crystal ball for 2026.
Oof.
Hi Julien.
Hi.
It's been a while.
Yes, you're right.
So about 18 months ago, we did that video, didn't we? Where we looked at financing a mortgage in France as for foreign buyers.
Yes, and I want to thank you because actually your video brought me some customers.
That's amazing, that's great. That's great.
Thank you for initiating this.
No problem, no problem. I'm really delighted that we're able today to sit down and kind of look at what the last 18 months have been like, geopolitically in France and in the world, and how that's impacted on mortgages.
You're right, the 18 months have been actually busy for me. Very. A lot of customers coming from abroad. I've seen some different nationality arriving, and at the same time a lot of Americans coming to France this year. So we can see that the geopolitical is working there.
The context is
You're
there.
right. And also probably fewer Brits.
Yes, I felt that too.
You felt it, okay.
Yeah.
And at the same time, something new for me, some Aussies, some Australians arriving and buying property in France.
Interesting, because I've had some New Zealanders as well.
Okay, you see.
And have you noticed whether people are buying secondary residences or primary residences? What's the profile?
It has been necessarily both in France, but it's been more primary residency.
Okay.
So
that's quite different to the last 18 months, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually trying on both sides. One, I'd say it's a lot of Americans coming to buy a primary residency in France, in Euro, in what we call la pierre.
Yeah.
So buying a house. It's probably in a way for diversifying their assets as they're buying with a different currency.
Yeah.
So it's no longer USD, it's in Euro.
The stock exchange took a bit of
a
battering earlier on in 25.
Yeah, so a lot of people have thought about it and what's going to happen. As the markets moved a lot beginning of the year, they tried to see what were the other options worldwide.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, people coming from the other side of the world, I'd say from Australia, buying a primary residency in France, coming for, I'd say, a few years. They maybe will not stay for the next 25 years like a French person would buy a property, but they're coming here, buying a property, trying to live at la française, la vie française, I'd say, and try and see how they can be here in the south of France.
And, you know, in our previous video, you had said about how sought after this area is. And of course, you know, we've got this view today.
Incredible
which
view.
we had last year as well.
You're right.
And these views are kind of part and parcel of why we choose to live in the south of France, in Provence.
Yes.
And, you know, the little villages around Aix-en-Provence, you've got Puricard, you've got Aiguille, you've got Saint-Canard, Rognes, Lambesque, le suluberon, l'oris, l'ourmarin, cadenet, cucuron,
les alpilles,
les alpilles. So we're very, very spoiled for lots of incredible villages.
You're
and
right.
Of course, I can't list all that and not mention Malmort and le domaine international du Golfe.
Yes, you're right.
Port-Royal, ça reste quand même.
Our region, we have Gulf.
Yeah.
We're 20 to 30 minutes driving down to the seaside.
Absolutely.
An hour and a half, 2 hours to the mountain and the ski resort.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about people coming from abroad, like in the US, when they actually have to change states to go for skiing, here we just take our car and go drive.
Yeah.
And it's a 2 hours drive.
And you know, for those people that are English speaking coming to our region, we've got all the bilingual international schools.
You're right.
And the international schools, the universities. I mean, we really have, we've got it all.
Yeah. We're very, I'd say, bilingual friendly.
Yes. Yes.
Everything is there. We have TGV, which is a 3 hours to Paris. We've got airports, which is international airports with a direct flight for the US, for the UK. So everything's there.
You know something, when we talk about the TGV, we always think about Aix-en-Provence. And we've also got Avignon.
Yes, you're right.
And so Avignon is just also, you know, depending on where you're living, whether it be a secondary or a primary residence, you know, you've got Avignon as a very interesting.
You would probably do this living in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, for example, or anywhere around there, Gordes. You would drive to Avignon more than Aix-en-Provence for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely.
And 3 hours later, you're in You're in Paris. You're in South Paris, arriving city center, and that's perfect.
Yeah. Télétravail, here we go.
You're right. So like I was saying, the year has been busy on my side. What about, how did you see the year? What was your point of view on how long to get a mortgage? What was your, what did you think about the job that we do?
Yeah, so two things. I think the geopolitical and economical context in France this year has kind of slowed things down quite a lot.
You're right.
So in terms of like the internal dossiers, they've been longer to work through and to get. And I think for the international buyers, a lot of my international buyers were cash buyers. Like you said, you know, they're kind of diversifying the way in which their investments are working, and they're kind of going. And I'd like to hear more about that, and perhaps
because the cash buyers are don't talk to me. I'm only getting the mortgage ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's always interesting to talk to them to see why they're buying cash.
Yeah.
And if it's not more interesting for them to have some debts in France.
Yeah.
As the rates are very, I'd say, they've been stable within the last 18 months, 12 to 18 months.
So 2025, what are the rates approximately that we're looking at?
For non-residents, so people coming from abroad buying a property in France, we're around 3.5, between 3.5 and 4%.
Okay.
So it's
over
been
25 years?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
So it's been fixed rate.
Let's remember that.
Yes.
We did talk
no
about
variable
that
rate.
in the previous video.
You're right.
But you know, it is a fixed rate for 20 years.
20 years, doesn't move. Always able to renegotiate if the rates go down. In that case, they call me back.
And how much do they need to put on the table approximately?
I'd say it's always, there's a variable there, depending on the nationality. To have in mind that it's between 20 and 30% of down payment, plus what we call the extra fees, which you've also mentioned in one of your videos, with a notaire and all the bank fees, etc. So it's interesting to see how the bank considered them this year. The people coming from what we call the non-residents. You're right, it's been a little slower. But it's been slower in all the aspects. I'd say it's been slower on the notary side. The purchase of a place has also been slowing down. The banks have been slower, but at the same time, they were very efficient.
Yeah.
So it took a bit more time, but very efficient.
Any idea why then? Why has it taken more time?
The fact that France also had their political issues, with government issues, made things a little slower.
Yeah.
We also, in France, love to enjoy the summer. And our bank holidays. So we do.
August is out.
August is out.
Yeah.
Month of May is often out. Also,
a lot of bank
holidays. Know it. And after we have a lot of holidays.
And then it's Christmas.
And then it's Christmas. Don't forget, in France, usually the minimum holidays that an employee will have is around 5 weeks.
Yes.
So depending on the companies, they can go up to 9 weeks.
Yes.
And that's a lot.
And let's not forget though, that is why a lot of people choose to live in France.
Choose to live and work in France.
There's a much better balance between working life and personal life. So let's not diss it too much.
You're right. And it's also, it took a bit more time also because of the profiles we got.
So when you're talking about the profiles, so you mentioned the Australians.
Yes.
I know that I had New Zealander also, and I kind of wonder how do the banks kind of consider that nationality in terms of, and does it matter if it's a primary or a secondary house?
It does have a little impact because buying a primary residency for self-employed couple, which I had at the beginning of the year, coming from Australia, makes the bank also want to be sure that their income will stay the same, because they have to understand how will their company be still making as much money with the time difference of 12 hours.
Of course.
Which is huge. So we're talking about the other side of the world. Even myself, I did question myself about that. Saying like, okay, but how are you going to operate? Okay, but it was very easy. They had people in place in their company to do the job for them.
But those are considerations.
Yes, and this is needed to be explained. It takes a bit more time, which means also different kind of, I'd say, approval rating that needs to be happening in the bank. So it's not usually, maybe not the director of the bank, but it needs to go up. And in that case, it takes a bit more time.
So other than the time factor and the consideration in terms of self-employed Australians or people on the other side of the world, wherever that is, needing to make their employment work in France, are there any other considerations that are that would have an impact on the banks?
There's one factor which I don't think we mentioned it in your previous video, but there's also the insurance, mortgage insurance.
Right.
Mortgage insurance is mainly mandatory in France.
Yes.
The banks will lend you money if you are insured.
Yes.
This also takes a lot of time.
And the banks normally propose an insurance, and that insurance, you can then renegotiate it afterwards, right?
It's not as easy for a foreign person.
Right, okay.
You're absolutely right. It is possible, but very little insurance will insure, for example, US persons.
Right.
There's mainly 2 companies only, and basically their prices are the same. This is to say is that, I give you an example. We just did financing for 2 million euro in last month, and based on a big amount like this, the insurance needs a lot of medical testing, cardio testing, plenty of things. But this needed to be done by the buyer who was located in the US at this point, because he was buying a secondary house.
Right.
So it's always a little tricky because we're asking him to do plenty of exams, which for us, in France, it's very easy to do because thanks to our country again, this is a process which you just get an appointment with a doctor and it's common and you'll get it done.
And inexpensive. I dare say in the US it's terribly expensive.
It's very expensive, you're right, and it takes a lot of time.
Right.
So this also took us more than a month and a half to get the insurance approved.
Right.
And as long as the insurance is not approved, the mortgage cannot be definitely approved.
Yes.
So this also takes a bit of time.
So we've got new nationalities in the last 18 months. What about what kind of profession, what kind of background have your clients had?
It's funny you're asking. It's also has a little bit shifted on this side. We do still have employees, CEOs or employees of big companies which have been buying places more as a secondary house.
Right.
The primary houses are more bought by self-employed people.
Yes.
Coming abroad, able to do their job, as we were saying, from France, telling their employees what to do from abroad. That was also the case for primary. But I have had a new kind of profile for me. It's people living on their assets. So
now that's really interesting you should say that actually, because I had a client before I met you who lived off her assets and investments, and she wanted a mortgage of about 1.2 million and we couldn't get it.
That's because you didn't know me at the time.
Exactly, I know.
It is completely doable.
Right, how?
We're able to make the calculation. So it's very easy. We need to have in mind that if they've just got their assets, it's always a little tricky, because if you're telling me that they sold a house in the States a month ago and that they just have their money invested on stocks or elsewhere, and that we need to consider this income as future income, it's tricky.
It's quite risky as well, I guess, right?
Because it still is a kind of liquid and can be shifted from one bank or elsewhere. But if we have a little bit of stability over the 3 last years, that they have a portfolio with their stocks where we can show some income and has been a recurring income in the last years, it's very easy. We take this as income, and we're able to give them a mortgage in France. It's all just needs to respect the kind of banking ruling that we have in France, but it's not an issue.
Okay, so that can be stock investments, rental investments,
rental stocks.
Like previous, I mean, regardless of the investment.
Regardless of investment, it needs to be, it can be still in their country with their currency. After, it's always a question of reassuring the bank. In that case, we can talk maybe with the bank and having a kind of small collateral money placed with the bank to secure them a certain amount of mortgage. But it's something that the banks are more and more open to do.
And again, I mean, this goes back to what we said in the previous video about the fact that they need to have really tidy accounts.
Correct.
And show that their income is recurrent and dependable.
Exactly.
But that's, and of course, that's not your traditional high street bank that, you know, the traditional financial advisor would have. It's kind of, this is why your expertise comes in quite handy and your contacts
it's probably why also your client could not get a mortgage at the time, because if you go to the local down a nice area or any banks in our local little village, they will not be able to understand this. They'll need, for example, a portfolio of stock exchange is unreadable for a local banker here. It needs to be a special entity in the bank which knows how to read those kind of information. And
your expertise, you're able to tailor make things as well for them.
From the start I'll be able to tell you. That's what we've been doing in the last years. When you have this kind of question, you're showing this property, they're buying whatever the amount is, we'll need to secure that they can obtain a mortgage. This is the priority. At least that's why you ask me.
Yeah,
so I'm there for you doing this. And this needs to be analyzed from the start. But if you tell me that they only have stocks and portfolios, etc., it's not an issue.
That's amazing. That's really good. That's really good to know, regardless of their age, right? Because presumably,
yes and no.
Right.
There's always a question of it's always tricky because max age is 75 in France to obtain a mortgage.
Right.
So you cannot have a mortgage after you're 75.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'd say a 60 years old person will only have a 15-year mortgage max.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense. On the other side, I would contradict myself because I was able to obtain a mortgage for a person who was 69 on a 12-year duration.
That's because you're a bit of a magician, aren't you?
Yeah, thank you for that. But he also had a bigger collateral.
Right.
So, which was securing much more of a bank.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, I mean, you know, within finance, there's no black and white, is there?
You're right.
There's always like a continuum. You know, if you're going to get if you're going to get a really great mortgage and you've got a lot of collateral, you might not need the insurance, but you might end up paying an interest rate higher than if you did need insurance. There's always plus and minuses and things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also it's a way of working with a bank. It's a win-win.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, like I was telling you about this kind of clients living on their assets. This is one part of the clients, but it's not the majority of the clients.
Yeah.
It's a certain niche again.
Yeah, of course.
I do also have some clients, and I want to insist on that are buying properties around 300K, coming from abroad, buying a secondary house, 300K, 400K, you know, in this field.
Yeah.
And I did have a few clients like this year, which is also another kind of clientele.
Of course.
Buying smaller goods, but still needing us to assist them.
Of course.
Do you have this kind of goods in your portfolio?
Totally. So, I mean, our area is so rich in all sorts of properties. So we have numerous villages around Aix-en-Provence where you can buy une maison de village.
Okay.
You can buy sort of little maisons de lotissement also, because each village has got to make sure that it's got houses that can suit the middle person.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, in terms of investment, the domaine du Pont-Royal, which is the international golfing domain, which is a gated community. Yeah, it's a gated community, so it's particularly attractive to secondary homes.
Yeah, because my clients are buying from abroad.
Yeah.
They're not here the whole year.
No.
So they don't want to have necessarily to have a gardener.
Exactly.
To have someone taking care of a pool.
Yeah.
And does this place have this kind of accommodation?
Absolutely. So on the domain, so it is a gated community, and so you have guards.
Okay.
That allow you to come in and not. So it's under surveillance 24 hours. So that's particularly reassuring.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's an international golfing domain, so it's attractive for anybody who either plays golf, but if you've ever sort of like gone to that kind of residence, it's beautifully maintained. So when you enter, whether you play golf or not, you enter, it's green, it's beautiful, it's kind of, you know, and you've got villas that can be a couple of million, but you've also got semi-detached houses, which can be in the 400,000 bracket.
Okay.
You've got some apartments, which can be between 150 to 300. So you've really got a mixed bag of properties. If you look on my site, you've got some really lovely villas that have got their own pool, which would be on the market for about 550, 600.
Yeah, so that matches what my customers are coming from, you know, like buying to a secondary house will want. Because
absolutely.
Typically they're probably going to come 1 month in the summer.
Yeah.
And on and off during the winter.
Yeah.
So it's basically a place where they don't have over maintenance to do.
Exactly, it's a lock up and go.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's, you know, and because of the place that it is, you can rent. When you're not there. So, you know, in terms of the charges that you pay, which are not astronomical actually, you know, given what you get in terms of the security and the environment that you're in, it's, you know, the equivalent of a taxe foncière a year for an individual villa of approximately like between 550 and 600,000 euros.
Okay,
so you know the charges are about sort of like 1,300 euros a year. So it's really for what you get, it's particularly interesting.
What about those kind of areas that you have all the small villages and Aix-en-Provence? Are they kind of short-term rental friendly? You know, can you do Airbnb? Can you do this kind of things?
Not everywhere. I think that's a really interesting point that you make, because I mean it's a very beautiful area, and so we have a lot of villages who in the winter are kind of dead, right? Because people come to the villages during the summer, during the high season, or they do rentals during high seasons. And so those villages, the people who live in those villages can no longer access that accommodation.
I get it.
So a lot of communities have kind of restricted Airbnb and seasonal lets. So that's something that really needs to be taken into account when buying a property. On the domain, it is that kind of philosophy, right? So the whole point is a holiday village kind of.
So this domain makes sense.
Yeah, so the domain does make sense. You've got many villages where they will welcome sort of like rentals, but you need to be careful because you know the politics are changing. You know, a lot of places are a little bit tired of the Airbnb and preventing all year round life and activity in the village. It can kind of kill a village if the house is only open for a month or 2 months a year.
It makes sense. You're right.
So but it's a really interesting source of properties to present. I'll send you some more information on the place.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So as a financial advisor, I'm going to ask you a couple of tricky questions now.
Tell me.
Okay, crystal ball for 2026.
So I wish the market will stay similar and maybe a bit even more, I'd say better, with more people coming from abroad buying a property in France and south of France. In terms of rates, should be hopefully stable. 3.5, like we were saying, to 4%. If again, there's no government impact on the rates as it can happen. But hopefully 2026 will stay in this kind of in this area, stable. It's always better to get a mortgage also beginning of the year. It's always easier for people buying in the first 6 months of the year than the last 6 months. Due to
quotas.
The goals of every bankers. So beginning of the year is always, I'd say, faster to obtain a mortgage and make things happen. So it's more dynamic. If I have to give you also a good one tip, is to have your file ready and probably set. Prior. And that we've talked about your file. In France, you can only work with one mortgage broker. You cannot multiply that. That's very important to know. So make a good choice from the start, even if it's not me.
and there's nothing stopping you from interviewing several financial brokers.
Exactly. Interview them prior your project, see with who it's matching. And try and see if they have good recommendation.
So essentially, to summarize what you're saying, interview your financial advisors. Stick with one.
Yes.
On their merits and the solutions that they can offer.
That's it.
And your crystal ball is hopefully all the rates will stay the same or better. And of course, something that I always love reminding people, and I know that I say it, but like it's a fixed rate.
Fixed rate
for 20
for
years.
For non-resident, 20 years, you're right. So it's you know from the start what you're going to pay.
Yeah, and
there's no surprises.
That keeps France as a really attractive country of investment.
Exactly.
And you know, and especially Provence, of course. You've noticed the blue sky, right? We are in mid-November.
Yeah.
And we have the blue sky. So no cigales, but
no,
you know.
No, but plenty of nice things also to do in the winter time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Soon to be skiing season.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, Julien, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyla.
As always, and let's catch up again. Not quite 18 months next time.
Yeah, let's do it before.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.